Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
And you're back.
Right. That's right.
How is it when you go to your summer home?
It's tough. You got the summer home, the winter home. Sometimes I drive to the wrong one. Yeah, it happens.
It's just... We all want to know how you made your money. Message from this station, the Ad Council, and the IRS.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was literally going to say those three letters got to be in there somewhere. They'd come knocking at some point.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Hey, what money did you make? Why is your W-2 saying a lot less than what these houses are worth? Wise investments.
I really wouldn't go on here and brag about it.
The same way people get a $3 billion tax return when they make $30,000.
Yes. Today's fact of the day, there are 5 members of the 700 Home Run Club. They have combined for 5 50 home run single seasons. Babe Ruth has 4 of them. The only one that did. Because Bonds only had the 1 year.
Bonds had the 1 year, yep. Pujols never had one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pujols never had one. Aaron never had one.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. So there you are. That's Ruth, what a bummer.
Oh, I'll tell you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the unbelievable part with Bonds. Aside from the 73, never had
a 50 home run season.
50 home run
now,
season.
then there's Sammy, who had 360 home run seasons.
Seasons that didn't lead the league in any of them.
It never led the league once. And cork flew out of his bat. Other than that, it's all good. It's all good. All right. So, let's get to the Big Ten Media Days. Today is Penn State's day. You get 3, there's 6 teams each day. And so Penn State is today, and the last coach up today is James Franklin. What do we expect to learn? Not too much. That is something that it's pretty standard. I always feel like the big one is always the commissioner, because the commissioner is not out there every week doing interviews. Whereas coaches are out there every week. And James is every Monday and every Saturday and every Thursday night and so forth. The commissioner's not out there like that. And that is why when he gets a chance to talk, okay, let's take a long listen as to what he has to say. And he pretty much said what we thought he was going to say yesterday. I mean, there was really nothing in it that you sat back and went, oh, okay, that's different. No. I mean, he talked about the 12 versus 14. He's happy he's at least at 12. He feels that the Big Ten should get 3 or possibly 4 into it, which would be great. He talked about, and again, this is common sense, by the way. And the common sense part is, I go back to something I said, down in Jacksonville, when I spoke down there. Although it was really weird, though. First question I got was whether you were in town. When I said no, there seemed to be palpable relief.
I was thinking that. I saw the ovation. I thought, man. Well, I'll tell you.
Yeah. So so when I was asked about this, and it's one of those questions you do expect to be asked. I'm in Florida, for goodness sakes. So I'm going to be asked about expansion because there are a lot of people in the audience that also have ties somewhere to either the University of Florida or to Florida State, not just Penn State fans. And when I was asked about it, the question was expanding to 20, and I said, look, I'll be honest with you. I said, I want to see how 18 works first. I said, nobody's had 18 before. So let's see how 18 works. I said, nobody's been past the 16 mark with major conferences. I don't mean the mess that was the Big East, because the Big East was a mess. Football, basketball, a lot of members didn't play football. I said, I want to see how 18 works first. I said, because there are going to be hurdles. The first year they're going to do things, they're going to find out a lot of things that they did worked. I said, there are going to be some things that they're going to look at and say, hey, all right, now we've done this, what do we need to tweak? I said, let's see how that works first before you start going down and hunting down somebody else. I said, you got to remember, too, it's got to be somebody that brings value to the table that makes the pie bigger. Oh, Florida. And then these guys said, well, Florida State will make it bigger. I said, will they? And they said, well, I said, will they? And I said, and this was a polite exchange. This was not a contentious. Yeah. I said, will they? I said, because if they have the ability to make the pie that much bigger, and so which means they've got to bring a minimum of $75 million value per year. I said, if they had that kind of value now, why isn't the ACC pie bigger?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he looked at me and like, yeah. He said, if that's the case, I said, same thing with Clemson. If Clemson and Florida State are such a dynamic duo, why isn't the ACC pie bigger?
Yep.
Right. Now, is it because the other, how many schools do they have now? 16?
I thought it was 16, but I can't even remember at this point.
Nobody knows. Right? Maybe they're at 18 with Notre Dame. I'm not sure. Big 12 has 16, SEC has 16. The ACC is such a mess, I can't tell you because it was bizarre what they did with Stanford, Cal, and the SMU thing. So they said, you have to ask those basic questions. I said, because whomever you add, I said, when UCLA and USC were added, they immediately went back and reworked the numbers because they were going to come out with the contract, remember, right around Memorial Day weekend for TV for the 14. Well, then USC and UCLA were added, and they came back in August, and you know that the Big Ten got more money. You know that. Mm-hmm. And so they paid for themselves and then some. Everybody else got more. That, when you expand, everybody has to get more, not less, and not break even. Everybody has to get more. Well, USC and UCLA accomplished that. Now, Oregon and Washington came in a year after the TV contract started, and they each got half. And that was fronted by Fox, so it ends up being at break even. But that, I said, and this is what I was explaining to him, I said, that tells you everything about the value. I said, Oregon and Washington are like Clemson and Florida State. They're among the 18 schools that make up 50% of the TV ratings. I said, they both are in there, yet they got half because the contract's already started. They're not redoing the contract. I said, if I'm the network, I'm like sitting there like, hey, no, we're not redoing it. Why should I redo it? I already negotiated it in good faith. Mm-hmm. And there's only one escalator ever for Florida State or Clemson. Yeah. That's why it goes back to what Pete Thamel tweeted the other day. And he said, look, he has multiple sources saying that when August 15th rolls around, Clemson and Florida State are going to do nothing, which means they will be a part of the ACC in the 25-26 season. Okay? The August 15th date is not for this year. No. It's for next year.
Yep.
So you're going to see the Big Ten at 18, and I don't think there's any movement until the end of the decade when TV contracts start to run out. The ACC contract won't run out, but you'll be eating up time on that ACC contract, which will then reduce the buyout. Because that's going to be the key. And that's the other part I pointed out. I said, why did Texas and Oklahoma have to pay $50 million to get out of the last year? I said, this isn't as easy as people said. There's some reason, I said, there are people at Florida State that seem to think it's easy to get out of this thing. Really? I said, it's only 5 to 8 pages. I said, they've been poring over it for a couple of years. I said, it's one thing to pore over a 400-page and a 500-page document, trying to find something and taking a long time to pore over 500 pages. I said, it's another thing to pore over 5 pages. I said, if you can't find it, it's not there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said, okay, you can't find it. It's not there. Oh, no, it's got to be. It's like, no, it's not an extensive document. Now, I don't know what the ESPN document says. That part I don't know. But the grant of rights document is not this 500, 800 page. Oh, my goodness. Okay. You got to pour through it. It's 5 to 8 pages. Okay. Your attorneys have been going over every word. There aren't that many of them. And if you can't find it, it's not there. After a point, it gets to be that simple. Aha. There's been no aha. Because aha. You can get aha when it's 500, 800 pages. Well, here on page 392, we found something. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because the person writing it was giving up after about 300 pages.
Oh, they gave up after 8. Right? But it's 5 to 8 pages long.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yep.
Because one of the grant of rights is 5, the other one's 8. The Big 12. So I'll say 5 to 8.
Yeah.
And Texas and Oklahoma didn't find it.
I was going to say Texas and Oklahoma, who absolutely will bring that $75 million, didn't find it.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
so
Texas and Oklahoma didn't fight it because they couldn't find it either. No. And remember, the ACC document is modeled after the Big 12. Now, the difference is the second time through includes the ACC network being formed. Okay. Which is something the presidents wanted. But goodness gracious. That's why I find so intriguing about this. So Tony Petitti talked yesterday. We're happy with our A team. We're going to move forward with our A team. Yeah, and that's what we all expected him to say. The Rose Bowl, meanwhile, is requesting to be out of the rotation for the semifinals. In other words, they are content to just have quarterfinal games played because that keeps it at 5 o'clock on New Year's Day. Because between the Tournament of Roses parade and the game, that's their combination. Now, if Pasadena, and I realize SoFi Stadium's there, and we've already had a championship game played at SoFi Stadium. Georgia beat TCU, I think, there.
Yeah.
Right? To me, it would be wonderful to see, because this year, the Peach Bowl is getting 2. They get a quarterfinal game, and they get the championship game. The championship game is an independent bid. I'd love to see the Rose Bowl bid for that. That way you could have the Rose Bowl and then the championship game in there. The setting is just...
Yeah, second to none.
There's nothing like it. There's nothing like sitting there. You look around, right? See the San Gabriels.
Yeah. for fans, it's literally a trip to. It is everything that comes about it. Obviously, there's a lot to do in that area. The scenery is incredible. Even those that obviously it's your first trip there. They have like the world's biggest flea market not far from there. There's so many things about it that makes it just an incredible visit. Absolutely,
right.
and on the bucket list.
Yeah, and they say, well, what does that do? Well, if I'm the other bowl games, I'm happy about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get a semifinal more often.
More often, absolutely.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
I don't know that, to me, it's important for college football, since the Rose Bowl says they want to keep the quarterfinal thing. It's good for college football that the quarterfinal is sitting there in the Rose Bowl, because the Rose Bowl is going to get the best ratings of anybody, and it's going to make the game look good. If they don't want to do the semifinal thing, and I'm sitting at the college football playoff and look around and go, okay, that's fine. Everybody just kind of gets bumped up a year. What's the difference? What's the difference?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a difference in it at all if that's where they want to stay. I think it is it's interesting. You have to. It's one of those deals where you see it on TV, but if you experience it in person, it has even more of an impact as to what they're trying to do. Now, look, have I gone to the Tournament of Roses parade? Yes. Will I ever go back to the Tournament of Roses parade? Probably not. And it's not against the parade. Zero.
No, absolutely.
Zero against the parade. Because remember, the parade's the same day as the game. Right? I'd rather sleep in.
Yeah.
Right? I'd rather sleep in because technically, you have to remember that the game is actually at 2:00 in the afternoon out there, which means that we're on the air at 12:30. So going to the parade and coming, that becomes difficult. And I saw it. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I went to it. Will I ever go again? Probably not, because my job is to do the game. And that's more important to me than going to the parade. But, for anybody as a fan that goes out there, you had to experience the Tournament of Roses parade in the game itself. And that's what they are trying to do. They're trying to keep the two in combination with each other. And I think for them, that's I think that's a good move. I think it's a good move by them. It's amazing it's been met with some consternation. I don't understand the consternation behind it.
I don't either. Yeah, it makes like you said, other semifinal bidders and hosts are going to get a better chance to host the game now.
Right.
So I don't understand at all why there's so much backlash on it. And I think you look back on it, you look over the years, the tradition has always been that the Rose Bowl, unless New Year's Day falls on a Sunday,
right? That's on the second.
It's on the second. Otherwise, it's always been New Year's Day.
Right. So that's that came out as like, again, I see zero wrong with their stance. I completely get what they're trying to do. I remember at one point, I guess the Orange Bowl still has a parade, but it's like, and other people like the Citrus Bowl, I think at one point they had a parade. They tried to incorporate the same thing that they've done in Pasadena, and it just doesn't, it just doesn't work like the Tournament of Roses does and the tradition of it. And I think that's fine. I don't think that there's anything big about that at all. I mean, they've already given up their Big Ten Pac-12. I mean, they had no choice in the Pac-12. That part of it. But, yeah, I think for them, that's the right move to make.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens lost his first game last night.
Yeah.
What a disgrace.
I'll tell you, they're gonna have to cut him. I don't even think re-signing is in the conversation at all. I think probably send him down.
Yeah.
And it's been the story really of the year. I think the Pirates they're that close, and I think that this is a team that could be a wild card team. The unfortunate part of it is the run support on these pitchers who have pitched lights out, Skeens especially.
Well,
it's not there a lot of games.
Yeah, so let's get to that part of it, because that part of it, they're not going to address it.
No, and that's the concern.
Now, I will also point out, and I talked with Bob Nightingale yesterday. We'll hear from Bob tomorrow. Speaks very highly of you. No,
he's not. He wasn't at the Jacksonville function, at least.
No. So there's not a lot out there.
No, there really isn't, and I think
that's a big part of it.
And the big names are guys that.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of bats out there.
No, there's not. And the big bats really, they're number one. They're either set at that position, or I just don't think they're worth taking a chance on. I think there's a lot of guys that I think would fit the American League better, but there's guys I just don't think are going to fit the Pirates.
Right. Well, no, I mean, what was it, Marlon Byrd they got?
Yep. That
helped them out so much. I mean, like Skeens lost, by the way, 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1. Gave up a run in the ninth inning when he was still in. Right. So, yeah, that's not...
Hey, what are you supposed to do?
Exactly.
Yeah, but, and by the way, the Cardinals had a whopping 4 hits in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. But, look, the Pirates are 1 game over 500.
Mm-hmm.
And that's remarkable through 101 games.
Yeah, I agree.
Their pitching is terrific.
Yeah.
I mean, Skeens, he threw 104 pitches in 8 1/3. That's good. That works.
Yeah.
And how many struck out last night? He struck out 8, didn't walk a batter.
Yeah.
Really? Really? He's got 1.93 ERA.
It's unbelievable.
But that is to their credit. Oh, the Mets beat the Yankees again last night. That's funny. I just saw that. Really? Let's see what the Mets do in this one. Mets, so McNeil's latest homer since Mets the 3-2 win Subway Series opener. Yeah. Another team that can't score. But they got a lot of big names on this Yankee team, don't they? Let's see. Big series. I had our guy. Judge went 0 for 1.
Yeah, there was one day. Was it Sunday? He walked, 4 times, right?
Well, it's like, what's that? My running joke was with a guy that I know is a Yankee fan. And Skeens got him out in the All-Star game. I say, yeah, big national moment. Typical Aaron Judge at-bat.
Mm-hmm. I think you could make the argument up until the 2009 World Series, where I thought he played great. Alex Rodriguez was the same way.
Same way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no doubt about it. Yep. Yeah, he hit a home run in the 9th when they were down 9-2.
Same way. All right. I mean, because Judge really is not in the postseason when the lights are brightest. Has not done it.
No.
See, that's what, in the end, like, that's why, for example, Mike Trout, he's only been in the postseason one time. He homered in his first at-bat, and then after that he went 0 for 11, 0 for 12, something like that.
Yeah.
The Phillies won last night 3-0.
Yeah, scored 3 in the 9th.
Castellanos, big 2-run double last night, as they won in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're humming along at 64-37. Where are our standings here? Let's just check out the standings here to this point as to what everybody's doing. Major League Baseball standings. So in the American League, the leader is Baltimore. 1.5 up on the Yankees, 6 up on the Red Sox. Cleveland, tied with the Orioles for the best record in the American League. 5 up on the Twins, 5 up on the Royals. Houston and Seattle are tied for first in the West. Houston has made a remarkable comeback after a 12-24 start.
Yeah.
They're 12-24.
Uh-huh.
Texas is 3 back. So let's get, but they're 3 games under 500. Phillies are 9 up on the Braves. The Brewers are 5 up on the Cardinals, 7 up on the Pirates, and the Dodgers are 8.5 up on the Dodgers, 9 up on the D-backs. So now the wild card. The Yankees lead the wild card with Minnesota and Kansas City in. The Red Sox are a game back. Atlanta, St. Louis, and the Mets are actually in right now, with the Padres a half game back, the D-backs a game back, and the Pirates a game and a half back in the wild card. And it's amazing. The Pirates are a game over 500, yet have been outscored this year.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Cardinals, by the way. The Cardinals, are 5 games over 500, and they've been outscored by an even greater margin than the Pirates.
And the Cardinals have still, obviously, they have a lights-out closer. There's no doubt about that. But aside from that, their bullpen is still questionable.
Oh, yeah, no question. No question about that.
Yeah, I think when you look at the rest of the National League, I think there are teams that can make a move, a small move. I think there's going to be pitchers out there. I think Flaherty will probably be out there. The Cardinals won't touch him, obviously, but I think
there's not a lot out there.
No,
I mean,
there's not.
The pitcher for the White Sox would be the most desirable pitcher out there.
Yep.
So you have to give up prospects for him. I mean, the White Sox don't care about taking an established guy off your roster.
No, that's it.
Right. I mean, so you have to give up prospects to get him.
Yeah.
There's no bat out there worth a darn.
No. I would think the Orioles are going to...
I don't think the Orioles need to do anything.
They probably may look to move Mountcastle. I think because he's just out of place there. But other than that, I don't...
I mean, the Orioles can go into their own farm system and make themselves...
Absolutely. I think the Blue Jays could make a move the other way.
Okay, the Blue Jays are going to be a seller.
Yeah,
let's be honest about it.
I think there's a chance Bichette.
I mean, do you follow the game?
I was about to correct myself. Bo Bichette combined too. I think
Bichette. He's talking. Who gave him a speaking role?
Boucher, the combination of Bo and Bichette. I think he is a guy they can put. I think if they're going to move somebody, there's more than likely than not Bichette will be the guy over Vladdy that moves. I think when you look at it, because I think he's more desired by a lot of guys, and
I'll tell you right now. I'd at least ask about Kevin Gausman.
So would I. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, their experiment failed. I think you look at what they did. I think they were a team that was on the cusp, really, of, you go back to the Batista bat flip. This team was probably a year or two away from being a World Series contender.
Right.
And they just went the other way.
It didn't help them 2 years ago when they got into the playoffs and Seattle beat them.
Yeah, Seattle beat them.
Right.
Yep. Biggio, obviously, but was a complete disappointment.
And they dealt him to the Dodgers. Yeah. Okay, next up, in addition to the damages the NCAA will pay out to eligible former and current players, known as House versus the NCAA, they are going to the full settlement agreement of antitrust lawsuits will be filed with a federal court by the end of the week. Steve Berman, the attorney for, by the way, Hagen's and Berman, which I think you've used them before, haven't you?
Dewey, Cheatham, and Howe has been real good. I haven't really had to change too many, but I have used them before.
You have more cards from attorneys on your desk than anybody I've ever seen. I don't quite know what you're doing. So Claudia Wilkins, the judge, she'll have to be the one that signs off on this, and then that's where the $22 million per year deal comes into play. Petiti said yesterday there's a lot to unpack in the House settlement. The new model is going to require a lot of changes in terms of how we operate. We now have a situation where schools can provide benefits directly to student athletes. There's a cap on that system. We have to monitor what schools are spending, so you need a reporting system that currently does not exist. Petiti would not provide details, but 3 athletic directors within Power Conferences have told the AP that they expect the roster limit to end up at 105, which is already, that's the training camp number anyway. 105 is the training camp number, and then you're allowed to expand once school starts. So 105 is going to be the roster limit. Currently, the scholarship limit is 85. In the end, all 105 should be getting some form of aid. Okay, so it's so they're going to take that, and let's face it, you're going to have to give, I think, full aid to all 105, and go from there. The athletic director spoke on the condition of anonymity because the conferences were not making their discussions public. I'm interested to see what they do with basketball limits. Men's basketball's been at 13. I don't see any. There's always been there was an ask early on to go to 14.
Yeah.
I'm talking. This is 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I think they're going to leave it at 13 because I think 13 works.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I mean, yeah, if you get somebody banged up, okay. But if you're allowed, I could see maybe going to 15 if you're going to give everybody aid, because you do still need to have a walk-on or two with the 13-man limit. You do need a walk-on or two. So maybe you do go to 14 or 15. That'll be interesting to see what they do with it. After the full agreement is filed, Judge Claudia Wilkin will then consider it. A motion will be made for preliminary approval from the court. Berman said the motion for preliminary approval typically gets granted. Meanwhile, Houston Christian University from the Southland Conference has already filed a motion to intervene in the settlement. The school claims schools outside the power conferences will unfairly absorb an inordinate amount of cost of the damages to be paid out. Berman said the defendants have asked the court to dismiss Houston Christian's motion. Get out of here. Okay, so because it's not the money that's going to be paid out in the future. What they're disputing is the money that's being paid out to the past. And the NCAA is going to take 60% of it out of reserves. The other 40% will come out of everybody's NCAA tournament distribution. Now, I think Penn State's NCAA tournament distribution last year was something like 2.7, 2.8 million, something like that, right in that neighborhood. And which is what I think everybody in the conference got. They split it up evenly. But they have college football playoff money. They have a 110,000-seat stadium. They've got basketball revenue sharing money, things like that. At Bucknell, in the Patriot League, this is the biggest part of what they get. And that's going to be shaved back a bit because of the settlement. So I understand where Houston Christian's coming from. So in terms of the percentage of your total athletic department revenue, the shave back for the Bucknells, the Houston Christians of the world, and so forth, the shave back will impact them because they don't have the other revenue sources that the Power Four have. I understand that. Okay. If you want to drop out and form your own tournament, go for it. I mean, we didn't file the lawsuit. Somebody else did. Why don't you go ahead, sue House? Hey, sometimes it gets to that point where you're like, guys, we're doing the best we can here.
Uh-huh.
And that's, but that's going to be filed on Friday. Technically, by the way, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, which are at the Big Ten Media Days, technically at this hour, they are not a part of the conference. What? Okay. So let's explain technically why. The Pac-12 TV deal expires next Thursday, August 1st, which means the grant of rights expires at midnight on Thursday, August 1st. which means then the UCLA Bruins, the USC Trojans, the Oregon Ducks, and the Washington Huskies will officially become Big Ten members next Friday, August 2nd. That's why, let's go back to Florida State and Clemson. Okay? Everybody in the Pac-12 that left clean. Nobody had to pay an exit fee.
Nope.
Nobody had to pay the grant of rights.
Yep.
They're free. Right? USC, UCLA played out last season. Oregon and Washington played out last season. Right? They finished up. And guess what? Right? They're officially in as members on Friday, August 2nd. That is if that's why the Pac-12 was so vulnerable. So I mean, Utah, Arizona State, Colorado, they all went to the Big 12. They're officially Big 12 members on August 2nd as well. Stanford and Cal are officially ACC members on August 2nd. SMU was already in as of July 1. That's because of the way the contracts were awarded with TV, which of course then rolled into the grant of rights. Now Stanford, Troy Taylor, head coach, will adapt or you're not going to be relevant in terms of the travel. I think our leadership has seen what can happen when you don't adjust. I think if you think about Stanford not being in a conference 10 years ago, I mean, you'd be like, what? Any conference would die to have Stanford. It's not the case now, by the way. But that was the situation for 10 days a year ago. So you better build up your football program and your athletic program to put yourself in a position, because all signs seem to point that there's going to be another realignment. And the best thing you can do is to have a strong program that is attractive to people. See, Stanford and Cal both had slid back so far they weren't attractive to anybody. Well, no, they've got 1,000 national championships. I sit there and go, I look at people and go, this isn't about that. That's adorable. Okay?
Director's Cup looks nice, no doubt. But yeah, no, it doesn't bring in money.
It doesn't do anything. All the sports you're doing national championships in lose money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is about how desirable your football program is.
How desirable you are, not just to yourself, but to the other people.
Right? And then, of course, then basketball secondary.
Yeah.
Everything else is like along for the ride.
Right.
Again, realism, common sense.
Yeah, TV.
Right? That's what it comes down to. Taylor said schools with long lineages tend to react slowly to things, and that can be challenging. When I got here to Stanford, they hadn't even talked about a collective. And I was like, you guys know what's going on out there, right? It's a changing world. We need to quickly adapt. And that's about what happened with both of them. That's what happened with both of them. I mean, Stanford Stadium is new. Cal Stadium's been redone, and I've done 2 games in Haas Pavilion, by the way, at Cal, and I thought it was a nice arena when I was in there. But that's where they are. I mean, I don't think the fans realize how far behind Cal and Stanford fell. I think people knew it about Cal. I don't think they realized that about Stanford. Just because Stanford plays Notre Dame and they're competitive with Notre Dame every year, it doesn't mean they're having a great year.
Exactly.
There's nobody in the stands. Nobody goes to Stanford games.
Nope.
Okay? I mean, that's the other part, too. They don't have, let's check this out. Stanford together. I've talked to Tony Knopp about this. Stanford football attendance. Okay, by year. Okay. College Football News put out average attendance for over a 5-year span. It's part of the 5-year program analysis. Attendance 1 through 133. Okay. Sam Houston's last. Just so you know, UMass 131. Ball State 130. Let's see. They did a lot of MAC schools. San Jose, ULM, Eastern Michigan, New Mexico, Buffalo, Hawaii. 2018 to 22, average attendance 13.4, 5-year filled stadium. Average attendance 9,210. Okay. Let's see. Who else here? Let's go. Oh, we can have a little fun with this. UConn. At least we're into the 90s now. Rice. We need to have Rice. No, you don't. Wyoming, 17 million. They drew over 5 years. Average 19,707. Duke, where Manny Diaz went, 86. Okay. 18,477,000. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, their average is 18,477. Now their average went up the last year of the filing to 24,505. Still only playing to 62% of capacity. Okay. Southern Miss, Troy, Temple. Temple's average 19,558. 5-year capacity 28%. SMU's going to the ACC. 82nd. They are 82 in average attendance. 19. This is a 5-year running. 5 years from 2018 to 2022. 19,811. Okay. Now they got it up to 24,971 the last year of reporting, which is 78% of capacity. UTSA, Colorado State, Washington State. 21,606 at Martin Stadium. Okay. Average playing to 66% of capacity. Yikes. Let's see, Kansas. Oh, we got to get Kansas into the conference. You want to know what Kansas average attendance was from 2018 to the 5 years, starting in 2018? 24,636. Now, the last year reporting where they got to be good, 43,000 per. That's 85% of capacity. Oregon State, 25,311. They're 69th. Okay. Got it up to 28,400. Last year reporting. Boise State, I mean, everybody thinks Boise State's filled all the time, right? Isn't that the impression you get?
Sure.
Average attendance, 26,818 over 5 years, 74% of capacity. Got it up to 33,500, 92% of capacity last year of the report. Stanford, 64th. Okay? Can't believe Cal's better. Stanford, 64th, 28,101. 5-year filled capacity, 56.2%. Okay. Last year of the report, 29,965 per game. Northwestern, 28.2. 60%. Maryland, 28.2. I mean, their average attendance was 31,000 last year. They're reporting 59%. I pointed that out a couple of years ago. Remember on the show I pointed out their average attendance was only 31,000? Yep. BC, 61st, Fresno, East Carolina, Illinois, 57th in attendance, 30,398. I don't think I've ever seen that stadium filled.
No. I
think, well, you know what? 2007, I think it was. I remember.
The day that, they really spend your juice.
Rashad Mendenhall, those guys.
Yeah, it may have been.
Yeah.
I know the homecoming where Penn State thumped them was at 05. They were definitely not full there. Yeah, it was not even half full.
They played at 50% of capacity. They did get it up to 71% at 43,000 plus the last year of the report. Syracuse is even slightly better. Cal, 55. 55. 5-year reporting period, 32 to 55, about 52%. Last year of the report, 38,596, 62%, which is slightly better than Rutgers. Rutgers, 62% over 5 years, but the last year of reporting, they played to 97% of capacity, 50,756. Okay. So that's not bad. I mean, look, you can only put so many people into your building based on, how many you have there. Let's see. So I left off at Rutgers. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Minnesota. I mean, Virginia's no better than okay. Virginia playing to 66% of capacity, 40,000. Okay. Georgia Tech, 36,006. We got to have Georgia Tech in. Really? Playing to 66.5%. That's it. Okay. 5-year running average, 62.9. Minnesota, 35,183. Average attendance over 5 years. They did get it up to from 69% over 5 years. The last year, they got it up to 88%, 88.6. Indiana, 36,000, 68% of capacity over 5 years. The last year they got it to 46,906, 88.6%. UCLA, 46, averaging 36,484, 45%. Remember how big the Rose Bowl is. Now they tarp off a lot of sections in the Rose Bowl when they do this. Last year of reporting, they went down. They went actually to 41,593, 52%. Pitt, 5-year average was 54% of capacity, 37,364. It's a lot of yellow seats. The last year of reporting, they actually were 80% of capacity, which was 54,710. North Carolina, last year was 94.9%. That's good. Utah, 102%. 52,000. Bryce Eccles. Louisville, Kansas State, Oregon. Oregon played to 102% capacity. Purdue, 99.8. Okay. West Virginia. Here's a surprise. West Virginia. Last year, they've been consistent, 79.4%. Okay. USC, 83.2% last time out. Let's see. Virginia Tech, 98%. Washington, 89.7%. 62,900. Florida State, 84%. Iowa, 100%. Every ticket sold. Michigan State, 92%. Wisconsin, 97.8%. Notre Dame, 94.3%. Not every ticket sold. Clemson, 99%. Nebraska, 99.48. Florida, 98.5. Oklahoma, 104.6%. Auburn, 97.4. Tennessee, 98.7. Georgia, 100%. Texas, 100.1%. Ohio State, 101.83%. Alabama, 97.2%. LSU, 98.3%. Texas A&M, 94.6%. Number 2, Penn State, 100.8%. Michigan, number 1, 102.5%. I mean, those are the biggest stadiums. Okay, remember. Okay, Michigan and Penn State have the 2 largest stadiums in America. And yet they're both over 100% of capacity. 102.46 for Michigan, Penn State 100.76. A&M is a 100,000 seat stadium, 94.6%. LSU, right, they're at 100,000, right? 98.3%. Alabama's at 100,000, 97.2%. Ohio State's over 100,000, 101.8%. Texas, they have over 100,000 seats, 100.12%. Now, Georgia doesn't. They're at 92.7%, right? But they're at 100%. Tennessee has over 100,000 seats, 98.67%. These are the largest stadiums. Okay? Hey, Auburn's about, 87,000, 97.4%. Right? Those are the largest stadiums right there. I mean, Nebraska's a huge stadium, right? 99.5%. Clemson seats a little bit better than 80,000, right? Almost 81,000, 99%. See, that's what makes these other numbers bad. I mean, Wisconsin 97.8. Well, 97.8, they have a 76, 77,000 seat stadium. See, that's what makes these other numbers bad. When you're sitting there and looking at they're playing to 68% capacity, they have smaller stadiums. That's not good. It's not like they have a 100,000 seat stadium and they're getting 68%, so they're still selling 68,000 tickets. Au contraire, mon frere, they aren't. You've got to have Stanford. I got to have Stanford? Really? I need Stanford? Why do I need Stanford? All right, here we go. I mean, Stanford. Okay, one more time. I need to have Stanford. It's like, okay, they'll be great to have. In what way? Stanford, 59.9%. 29,900 per game. Really? Here's the other one. Georgia Tech. Everybody's like, always, Georgia, you got to have Georgia Tech. Okay, Georgia Tech. You want to know what Georgia Tech plays to? Okay. 66.59% capacity. Really? I mean, they need WD-40 for the turnstiles because they're not moving that often. But you got to have them. I do. I beg to differ. You got to have Georgia Tech. Okay, why?
Unless Georgia literally says we're coming with them. That's about the only way.
I mean, Georgia owns the state.
Yeah.
Why do I want the secondary school in that state?
Exactly.
Right? So look at the expansion that the Big Ten has made. Okay? Starting with Penn State. They got the big kahuna in this state.
Mm-hmm.
They got the school in this state.
Right.
The next expansion was Nebraska. They got the school in that state. Maryland and Rutgers. You got the school in each state. Now you do this one. USC, UCLA. You got the 2 schools in the most populous state in the union. You got the school in Oregon, the school in Washington. Now let's go to Georgia Tech. They aren't the school down there. Georgia is. It's like going into Tennessee and saying, boy, if we could get Vanderbilt, we'd be in Tennessee. Or over here in the back. Ooh, the broadcaster lineup for BTN is out. All right. Let's see, who do we have here? Mike Pereira and Dean Blandino. Let's see. Game broadcast, Jake Butt, Yogi Roth, Anthony Herron. Anthony's such a great dude. Lincoln Kennedy.
Nice.
Matt Millen, Jay Lehman. Play-by-play guys will be Jeff Levering, Guy Haberman, Mark Fallowell, Lisa Byington, Jason Ross Jr., Jason Horowitz, Pat Boylan, and Joe Beninati. Field reporters, Brooke Fletcher, Rhett Lewis. Rhett's going to do that because Rhett was doing the color for Indiana football. I wonder what's going to happen with that. That's not something I think Don expected when the last time I talked to him in March. Melanie Ricks, Taryn Hatcher, and Kylan Mills. Big Ten tailgate, Rick Pizzo, Jerry DiNardo, Howard Griffith, Brock Vereen, Dave Refson. What else will be critical? They're going to get Ross Dellinger. Hey, that's good. Getting Ross Dellinger on is really good. And Urban Meyer returns for certain segments. Okay. So, another great show with you. Well, obviously you don't feel the same way. No?
Almost hit the gold. Olympics are coming up here Friday. I'll go for the gold.
Are you gonna watch?
A little bit. I'm not a junkie by any means. I don't.
Well, yeah, somebody said to me, how come you're not as into the Olympics? And I said, well, part of it is, in 2006, I started doing baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I'm out a lot of nights and don't get it,
I'm not.
Right? And then the Winter Olympics, I'm doing basketball.
Yeah, I don't watch it.
Right? And this will extend into football training camp. Mm-hmm. And football training camp lasts in the early evening. It's like, I said, I'm doing my own sports.
Yeah, can't do it.
And so I'm not going to, I'll catch some here and there, but that's going to be about it. So. All right. Well, another great show by you. Obviously, you don't feel the same way, so you probably feel that you had a great show.
That's right.
You just don't think, okay, fine, I'm hurt. I'm wounded. I don't know, guests here tomorrow because I don't want to talk to you.
That's right.